What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Benchwarmer Sports. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Cleveland Browns announcing their 53-man roster for the September 10th home opener against the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to be talking about who made the 53-man roster, who got cut, everything in between. We're going to be talking about it in this video. So if you guys like this type of content, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on this video so it gets up in the algorithm so more people can see this channel. Also, thank you guys so much for your support on last video. We got up to 3,000 views, a couple of subscribers, so thank you guys so much for that. I appreciate it. Also, huge announcement before we get into the video. This Friday, we are going to be doing the first ever Coming Off the Bench podcast in the afternoon. So if you guys are interested and you guys want to come out and join the live stream, it'll be this Friday in the afternoon. I still don't know what time yet. I'm still ironing out the details, but it'll somewhere be between like 9:30 and 12 o'clock. It'll be in that time range. So if you guys do want to come out to the stream, come out and see the first ever episode of the Coming Off the Bench podcast. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Turn the bell on so you guys are notified when that goes live, so you guys can jump in to the live chat and you guys can, react and do whatever you want in the first ever episode of Coming Off the Bench. But anyways, let's get into the task at hand, which is the Cleveland Browns have finally made their roster cuts. They have finally cut down the team to 53 men from, I think, 90 or 80, some like gargantuan amount, but they made 22 moves today in order to meet that 53-man requirement, which happened at 4 o'clock, so about 42 minutes ago from the time of recording. So a lot of stuff had to be, a lot of the cuts had to be made, a lot of tough decisions had to be made by Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski and staff. And I think with what we had, dare I say, the Browns might have a top 10 roster in the NFL. And I'll get into it as we go on here with the roster. As you can see, we've got the 53-man roster. They did decide to cut Kellen Mond. So if you guys do not remember, we had Kellen Mond as our third-string quarterback before DTR. So remember, he started the Hall of Fame game for us against the New York Jets. We waived him after the second preseason game against Washington. So then we make, DTR our third string backup with Josh Dobbs as our second string. Then we trade Josh Dobbs to the Arizona Cardinals, which we'll get into another video about them. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about them later in another video. But he gets traded to Arizona, which means DTR becomes the second backup or the second string quarterback. Well, then now the new NFL rule says that you can have 3 quarterbacks in your roster. So then the Browns bring back Kellen Mond for Kansas City. And then after his performance in Kansas City, they waive him one more time. So the guy got cut from this team twice in about a month, which is just insane. But that was the big news coming out of the quarterback room. So right now we have Deshaun Watson, obviously starting quarterback, then DTR as your backup. Kevin Stefanski said in a press conference earlier today that they're going to be trying to bring in a quarterback soon. We just saw, if you guys have not seen, Bailey Zappi got cut from the New England Patriots. I don't know why. I think he's a really solid backup. If I'm the Browns, I am on the phone with Bailey Zappi and his agent to get him on this team as the third string quarterback. That's a no-brainer for me, in my opinion. But then you get onto the running back. Of course, you have Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, who's been injured, so he hasn't really been able to play this preseason. Then you have the new trade acquisition, Pierre Strong Jr. He's the guy that we traded for, I think, a 7th-round pick to the New England Patriots for. Really decent running back, has a high upside, and the noticeable casualty here from the list is Demetric Felton. He did get cut today. Now, I've been heard that, that they're going to try and get him on the practice squad. I think Demetric Felton has been underutilized, to be honest, with this team. I think he has a lot more talent than what we've been able to give him. And so I'm really hoping that Demetric Felton can come back for the Browns. I definitely think that he will be a great addition to the running back room. And if you can get him as the 4th running back on this team, I think that's a no-brainer for me, in my opinion. Next up, you got the wide receiver room, which was probably, I think, the biggest cut of the day, one of the biggest surprises of the day. So you got the 6 wide receivers. We've been talking all the last couple of weeks about Does Austin Watkins make this wide receiver room? Does he make the roster? A lot of people, including myself, think he should have. But then when you get into it, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski don't necessarily agree with the 53-man roster. They've said that they want to try and get him back on the practice squad. A lot of reporters say that they should be able to. They have a decent chance to get him back. We'll see. But wide receiver room, we've been speculating about who would be the 6 wide receivers on this roster. They are Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, Marquise Goodwin, who just came back, I think Sunday. I think he was activated Sunday, which was huge. And I think that was probably the nail in the coffin in terms of Austin Watkins' shot to make the 53-man roster. But Marquise Goodwin coming back from blood clots, DPJ, obviously David Bell, who kind of had a lot of chances in the preseason to make some noise. Had that one touchdown pass from DTR. Not necessarily didn't do that much in the preseason games outside of that, but still second-year player. I don't think that they wanted to give up on him just yet. Third-round pick. Then you have Cedric Tillman, who's the third-round pick from this year. Obviously, that was a no-brainer. Has showed out at camp as well. Then you get to the tight end room. Really standard. Everybody thought this was going to be the case. David Njoku, Jordan Akins, Harrison Bryant. Then you get to the offensive line. Same thing here. Joel Bitonio, obviously, Jack Conklin, Nick Harris, your backup center, James Hudson, the third. I kind of call him the second version of Chris Hubbard for this team. Pretty much they just place him anywhere they want him on the offensive line. That's where he goes. DeJuan Jones, Ethan Posich, Wyatt Teller, Jed Wills, and Luke Weipler. Now, my thing is that right now the Browns really don't have a left tackle behind Jed Wills. They can't put James Hudson behind him, but James Hudson's not really a left tackle. We've seen him at right tackle when Jack Conklin went down a couple years and a couple times last season. So, seeing him on the left side, we saw him on the left side during the preseason when DeJuan Jones was at right tackle. We'll see how that goes, but not necessarily crazy about James Hudson being as a left tackle on the depth chart. I see him more as a guard type depth guy, but that's just me. But then we get onto the defense. Defensive line, we had some pretty big moves in this side of the ball here too, especially on the defensive line. A lot of guys who I was pretty high on got cut today and waived. Some of the guys who I thought should be cut, namely Jordan Elliott, I thought he should be cut, but apparently not. They think highly of him still for some reason, even though he hasn't really done anything the last 4 years he's been here. But I would have put Maurice Hurst there. They released Maurice Hurst today, but we'll get into that later here in just a second. So the defensive line room, we've got Zadarius Smith, Myles Garrett, Shelby Harris, the new signing that we got from Seattle. Then we have Isaiah McGuire, who was the draft pick from Missouri, Siaki Ika, the Baylor pick from the third round as well, Obo Okoronkwo, Jordan Elliott, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Alex Wright. So if you guys don't remember, Alex Wright is injured currently, so he made the 53-man roster. Obviously, fourth-round pick from last season out of UAB. Got hurt in training camp this year, but the news, or apparently the rumor going around, is that with Alex Wright and Jordan Kanashik being out, so the linebacker and the defensive line, they'll most likely put them both on IR, and that leaves up 2 roster spots being open. Now, I've heard rumors that some people may say that leaves, Maurice Hurst coming back, could be Demetric Felton coming back, could be Austin Watkins coming back. I am more in the camp of Maurice Hurst making it because it's a defensive lineman coming out. Linebacker, I don't know. I would feel like it would be one of those guys, Austin Watkins or Demetric Felton. That's just me. But then we get into the linebacker. Really, nothing really that stood out to me in this one. Anthony Walker Jr. coming back. Mahmoud Diabate had a lot of highlight plays, especially in the Philadelphia game. He's coming onto the 53-man roster. I was really high on him as an undrafted free agent. I thought he was a really good pickup for us. Tony Fields, second out of West Virginia. Still not really that impressed with Tony Fields, to be honest. He's had a couple of years to make his mark, and he really hasn't. Jordan Kanashik, obviously, with that torn MCL. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks with that. Jeremiah Usukoromoa, obviously, Sione Takitaki, and then Matthew Adams, who's also made the team with the 53-man roster to round out the linebacking room. Next up, you get to the defensive backs. Same thing. Nothing really stood out to me in this one. MJ Emerson, Mike Ford Jr., AJ Green III, Cameron Mitchell, the draft pick out of Northwestern, Greg Newsome, and then Denzel Ward. Nothing really different there. Nothing really shocking or surprising with that room, in my opinion. Although there is a rumor and reports coming out that AJ Green may be available for trade. They might want to trade him for some assets like draft picks or maybe even another player because they think very highly of AJ Green. They think he can be a player on a number of teams in this league. So AJ Green III is definitely a player to watch, especially on the trade block. If you're a Browns fan, he's a name to be looking at if you're worried about trading for a piece or trading for assets. Look at AJ Green and basically watch what he does this season, what the Browns do with that. Next up, you got Juan Thornhill in the safety room with Grant Delpit. Ronnie Hickman making the team. The guy from OSU had a lot of picks this preseason. He had 3 picks in his entire career at Ohio State, and I think he had 4 in the preseason. So definitely earned his spot here. Rodney McLeod coming from Indianapolis is a signing, and then DeAnthony Bell coming in as well. They were very high on him, especially because of his special teams talent as well. That was a big thing today too, this preseason with, were the Browns going to keep 5 safeties? Were they be able to keep 5 safeties? A lot of people were talking about, especially on the radio with Nathan Zagora and Jim Donovan, they were talking about the fact that, if you keep 5 safeties, does that mean one of the receivers from the receiving corps has to go out? Vice versa, if you keep one extra receiver, does a safety go out? So the Browns go with the best of their world. They keep 2 safeties in exchange for 1 wide receiver. I think that's fine for me. Then you get the special teams. Charlie Hewitt, of course, is the long snapper. Corey Bajorquez. Then the new guy, Dustin Hopkins, as the new kicker. Cade York out of the starting lineup. Does not mean he's going to be. He's not going to be here though. With Kevin Stefanski saying that they are planning to bring back Cade York as a practice squad kicker. Now, my reaction to this roster, I think really the Browns have a top 10 roster in the NFL. I don't think there's a question about it. On paper, this team is wholly talented enough to go to the Super Bowl. They just need to put it all together. And I know we've been saying that for like the last 4 years, right? The Browns have all the talent in the world on paper. They just need to go out and execute. It's the same thing again this year. They have all the talent on paper. They just need to execute. The only room I'm worried about in terms of like depth or anything like that is the linebacking room, because you've got 3 guys out there who are injured. They're injured. So you have Anthony Walker coming back from an ACL injury. You've got Sione Takitaki coming back from an ACL injury. Then you have Jordan Kanashik coming off of a torn MCL this preseason. Those are 3 guys right there who have just been injured. And I think, how many linebackers do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So roughly almost half of your linebacking room is injured, which is just, it's insane to me. But obviously they know what they're doing. I think every single other room in that team is at least top 10 in my opinion. Like Nick Chubb's the best running back in the NFL. There's no question about it in my opinion. Deshaun Watson should be a top 10 quarterback. He should play like a top 10 quarterback. Offensive line consistently is in the top 10, top 5. Wide receiving room, I think that's a top 10 room in the NFL in my opinion. Defensive line has been scary. I think they're top 10. Cornerback room especially is top 10. Safety room might be top 10. I mean, really, there's no argument. There's no case to be made against the Cleveland Browns not having one of the best rosters in the NFL. It just comes down to September 10th against the Bengals and the rest of the season, to where they have to prove that they're every bit as talented as what their roster showcases them to be. Because you have all the names on the roster. You've got the Deshaun Watsons, Nick Chubbs, Joel Bitonio, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome's, J.O.K. You have every single star that you need in a lot of very important positions on this roster. You just need to bring it all together. That is what we're waiting for the Cleveland Browns. They are a top 10 talented team in terms of talent. No question about it. But like Deshaun Watson said, and I think he said it very smart, is that when he was asked, do you feel rusty still? Is the rust gone? He said right before the season started, he goes, we won't know until week 1 against Cincinnati if the rust is gone. That's entirely true. And that is my philosophy. That's the philosophy I have been going with this entire preseason. I have no idea what the Browns are going to do this season. I have a prediction. I have a feeling of what they could do. But I don't know for sure. I don't know. I mean, for God's sakes, like everybody puts a lot of stuff on the preseason. The Browns went 4-0 in 2017 in the preseason. They then went 0-16 in the regular season. Preseason means jack shit. It means jack shit. The preseason does not tell you how good or how bad a team is going to be in the regular season. It's glorified scrimmages, guys. What matters the most is week 1 and so on until week 18. That's the only thing that matters. That's why I definitely think this is a top 10 roster. Like I said, it's a top 10 roster in the NFL. But they need to put it all together starting in about, 13, 12 days? We'll see then. I'll see it up close and personal. I'll videotape it for you guys down at the stadium. We'll see what's going to happen. But they got all the talent. And this roster shows they have so much talent that they had to cut other guys who were really talented who could be on the practice squad for them. I think the Browns are in a terrific position right now. I'm just waiting for week 1, but the Browns do have a top 10 roster. You could argue top 5. There's an argument there, in my opinion. But we're running out of time, so I'm not going to argue that right now. I'll leave it up to you guys to argue in the comment section below. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much once again for all of your support on the last video. We're up to 3,000 views, up to 633 subscribers. We had like 20 new subscribers from last video. So thank you guys so much for your support if you're a new viewer. If you like this type of content, you like Cleveland sports or just sports in general, hit the subscribe button, turn the bell notification all the way on so you guys are notified when the Coming Off the Bench podcast starts this Friday. Make sure you guys are notified for that. Like this video to help out in the algorithm, gets more eyeballs on this channel. We're just trying to get to 1,000 subscribers here. Small community, but I just want to thank you guys for, coming on board and joining the community. So I want to say that once again. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys all in another video. Take care.